I took apart the carburetors and used this dip to clean everything up. And this stuff worked real good, I think. I'm happy with how clean it got everything and the color, and it didn't take long. Like they said, 15 to 30 minutes, it cleaned them up real good. I mean, I, they weren't stored properly and they're 60 years old and they don't look new or anything, but I think it did a real good job. Now we all want the big kind of like we used to get at the store, but for cost reasons, I think they did a good job with this for $38. I mean, now you can't put the main body in, so you got to steal wifey's salad bowl, or whatever you call that thing, where she makes salad. So, and if the next salad she has tastes funny, tell her you don't know why. It don't know what happened, but it works good, and I'm happy with how everything came out. I dipped it, took about 3 different loads because of the size, and then washed the parts and then blew the parts off and put it back together. And of course, when you don't know what you're doing, it takes some time to make sure you're not making a mistake and everything. The main problem I had was the gaskets were stuck so hard. I'm guessing they were probably done in the 80s. Well, that's 40 years ago. And those gaskets were just stuck on here really hard. Now on the 4160, as you probably know, it doesn't have a metering block in the back. It has this metering plate. And this was really stuck tight. And what I ended up doing was bending this plate. I don't know what they call that shim. This is the metering plate, but so I ended up bending that a little bit, and then I had to hammer it out, and I put it on a flat surface, and well, it didn't work. So when I put the carburetor together and I turned on the fuel pump, it poured raw fuel into the secondaries without even starting it. And so I worked on that a few hours, and I couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. I messed it up. But I had a spare 64 carburetor, which is the same. It's still a 3116, and so I stole the metering plate and the shim and everything out of it, and I learned that when the gaskets are stuck like that, you soak them in water overnight and they will free up, and then you can get them apart without damaging it. So I put that in, but I still had issues. It just wasn't right. I think we have to admit that this was a fail. It's just a disaster. Well, luckily I never claimed to be a carburetor rebuilder. I just thought I could do it, and I think we now know that I was wrong. But there is a plan B. I did have a pair of 68 carburetors. It's the same 30. It's the same carburetor, but they changed the numbers because I think they staggered the jetting, so it's a 4235 and a 4236. These are Holly repops that they made some years ago, and now we can continue on with our project. As you can see, I got lazy and didn't repaint the intake manifold. It took a day to get the paint off of this thing, and then it took another day to get the primer off, and I still didn't get all the primer, but that's fine. After 2 days, I was just used up. Been over like a shotgun scrubbing on this thing. But I got lazy. I didn't repaint it, but I didn't I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. If I get another 65, you'd want it painted 65 orange, and if you got a 68, you would want a 68 orange. So I'd really feel bad if I spent all that time painting this thing and it was the wrong color when I got done. So I'll just leave it like that. And as you can see, the breathers didn't work on the other valve covers, so I took them off and went with these polished stage 5, which I like shiny anyway, so I'm not upset at all about that. The carburetors, yes, they're beautiful. I do like new carburetors, and everything's going to be fine, but I have to warm it up in order to be able to use our toy to sync the carburetors, because I can't be, revving it up. We want to check this while it's idling. We got to go back and forth. I have to have it warm and idling. It won't, since we don't have chokes, it won't be idling, right? And plus they would be staggered anyway. So I have to warm it up first, and then we can sync the carburetors together, because it's not going to run right till you get them synced. I've warmed up the engine and set the idle screws to where I felt that we were as close as we could get with those. Now we can use the gizmo and see if we can fine tune it a little better. Well, it seemed like no matter what I did, this carburetor was using more air than that one. I adjusted the idle back and forth several times, and I don't know what's going on. I put some nice soft throat gaskets on here, so I don't think I'm leaking there. I don't know exactly what it is. I do have more tuning to do on the idle. It was still running a little rich, and I've got to adjust the idle mixture and then get the idle back down where I want, where I can look at everything a little better. But still, I was just surprised. I mean, I made a lot of adjustments there, and this one was always using a little more air. But now what I really want to do is compare the sound of this manifold next to the dual plane. I was expecting this to give it a much racier sound, and really didn't sound that much different to me. So I will crank it up, get it like I want as far as idle and sound and everything. And then I'll put in a clip of what the other manifold sounded like. But I don't think this really sounded as racy as I thought it would. Of course, it's got this grandma cam in it, but still, we'll give it a shot.